This is Lynn Healy, and I'm one of the authors of the article on women in social work management. And now it's 16 years past the publication of this article. So what's happening today? Sangeeta has given me several questions to comment on. First of all, she asked me what prompted me to write an article about women in management. And that came out of a couple of different themes. As an instructor here in the School of Social Work, I've been very interested in looking at the careers of women who are in our social work administration concentration. We used to have a course in the school called Women and Social Work Management, where we looked at a lot of the themes about management style, about career planning. So the three of us who collaborated on this article, our current Associate Dean, Kathy Havens, former Professor Barbara Pine, and myself, we were all interested in this question in terms of the careers, primarily of our women students. This was written back in the mid-1990s, and much has changed in the meantime about women's careers. As I look back at some of the things we talked about, I think that in some areas the numbers have definitely changed, and that at least within the social work profession, many women have advanced and are now occupying significant leadership positions. Certainly in schools of social work, there's been a significant change. You all look around the room and you see that most of your fellow students are women. Also here at the school, the majority of professors are women, and we're led by 3 female deans. If you were to roll the clock back several decades, the student body would still be predominantly women, but the leadership, the professors, the deans would be predominantly male. So there have been big changes in the number of women who've gone on to get PhDs, to teach, and to take leadership positions in social work education. I think this has happened also in the agency world to some extent, and we're almost coming back to the position of earlier decades where women led the profession. But I also think there's still gender discrimination out there that women will face in different ways. When I was asked, pardon me for looking down, but looking down at the questions, we suggested back then a number of things that needed to be done to deal with what we called internal and external barriers to promoting women into leadership positions. And I think some of those still ring true. Of course, the bottom line is to eliminate discrimination. Does discrimination still exist? I ask you each to think about your own workplace settings and see if you can identify any ways in which you think women are still disadvantaged in the workplace. Perhaps it's by overly rigid policies. Perhaps it's in salary. I think the area of salary discrimination may still exist in many social service agencies. Or perhaps it's in terms of workplace climate. We now have so many laws prohibiting sexual harassment, but that's still an issue that plagues some women in the workplace, because women are placed in a very difficult position when they are essentially have to either tolerate a behavior or be seen as someone who is a tattletale and is reporting their colleagues for some unseemly behavior. So I think this is still an issue that some women face. I'm wondering if we have some new issues, and thinking about what's happened since 1995. One of the things that's happened is the tremendous demands that are made on all of us in our places of work. We are now expected to be connected. We are not expected to be unreachable. We're expected to have our electronic devices on at all times and to check our email at night. And so as women still maintain the majority of the burden for family care, to what extent does this new burden of being expected to be always available to the workplace compromise their career opportunities or contribute to extreme stress? It may be that women are rising into leadership positions, but they're paying a very, very heavy price for this. So I think that the whole issue, we used to call it the family-friendly workplace. I'm not sure there are family-friendly workplaces anymore. I think that although there may be some policies that assist with child care, perhaps flex time, but what does flex time really mean if you're expected to be available 24 hours a day whenever someone calls you on your cell phone? So I ask women leaders of today to think about ways that they might contribute to humanizing the work environment in a way to help people manage some of these stresses. I guess one area, the last area that I think I'd like to comment on is this issue of, we were very interested back 16 years ago and even earlier in looking at whether women manage differently than men. So if women are in leadership positions in agencies, is the climate different? Do they make decisions differently? Do they treat their staff differently than if a male were in leadership? And I think that the research suggests a very mixed set of results on that. I think some researchers do indicate that there are gender differences. Some of these come out certainly in the political arena, where you see that women in large groups have different political opinions than men. But in the agencies, do women manage in a more humanistic way? Do they tend to be more participative? Some of the research that Kathy Havens and I did with state-level leaders suggested that that might be true, that women tended to be less likely to make autonomous decisions and to engage more people in the decision process. But, this is, I think the jury's still out, and there's probably a need for some ongoing research in this area.